Welcome to this edition of My QuickBooks is Stupid, where I point out something that's ridiculously wrong with QuickBooks and a ridiculously easy solution for it. On this video, we're going to talk about when I go create an invoice, this drop-down menu is just way too small. So if I pick any sort of long customer name or a customer name that contains a project, what happens is my data gets truncated. So I have to kind of decipher what's in there by looking at the first part and then clicking on it and then looking at the second part. Depending on how your QuickBooks looks and how long these projects are or these customer names, that could be a huge problem for you. So this is a design flaw that is obviously stupid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a very simple solution, which I'm going to use an app called User Javascript and CSS. I'm going to put a link in the description to this particular app. It's a free Chrome extension that you can download. It only works on Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Brave, Chromium-based browsers. So if you're in Safari or Firefox, this is not going to work. This fix basically does a facelift. It changes the way the app looks based on what we tell it to do. Now, I don't know anything about scripting. I don't know anything about programming. So I'm going to use Claude, which is kind of like ChatGPT. And Claude is really cool because it has a little Chrome extension that you can run on the background, and you can have it interact with your screen and figure things out for you. So for example, I'm literally going to tell it that this is a problem for me and I needed to fix it. Notice that the customer drop-down menu is just way too small. I have to click on it. I have to put my cursor on it, shift left and right to see the customer name. What I want is for that customer drop-down, the button that I click on before the drop-down to show up, to be as long as the email type box that's right under it. So figure out a JavaScript that I can plug into a Chrome extension that automatically loads the script every time I load the website, that will automatically make that field much bigger so I can see everything that's typed in there. So for those wondering, how do I talk to my computer? There's all sorts of narration software that you can download. The one I use is called Whisperflow. It's really cool. But your Mac, your Windows should have a way with a free app, with a free function to do it built in. So you don't have to buy a separate app. I like Whisperflow because it's really, really fast and easy to use. But go ahead and just Google dictation software or how to do dictation on your Mac or your PC or whatever to figure out how to do that. Good. It gave me the script. So the way we test it is I copy the script. So I'm just going to copy the script that it gives me. This is all Greek to me. I have no idea what any of these things mean. It doesn't matter, right? I'm using artificial intelligence to do that thinking for me. And then I'm going to right click anywhere on the screen and click on inspect. What that does is that it opens up the console. And then here, this little drop-down menu, it defaults to elements. I'm going to go into console. And then what console allows me to do is allows me to paste the script and test to see if the script is going to work. So I usually click on this little clear button to just kind of clear the console to make it a lot easier kind of for me to read. And then I'm going to paste that script that I copied from Claude. Now keep in mind, there's ways for you to do it where you have ChatGPT open in a separate window, but there's a lot of screenshots and copy and pasting of code that you have to do. With this Claude extension, you just have it interact immediately with the screen, look at it, and it'll figure it out for you. So here's the script. I'm going to press enter. And what I want you to look at is I want you to see if this field actually expands in size. There it is. Beautiful. Okay. So my QuickBooks is no longer stupid. Look at that. Okay. So that works. That way it doesn't matter what I pick. I'm able to see the whole thing. Now, notice that this thing is acting kind of weird. It kind of just keeps expanding and expanding. Okay. This is the challenges with programming. So I would just tell it, that something's quirky going on with the script. It just keeps doing it over and over and over. So I'm just going to tell it to fix that. That worked, but every time I pick a new customer, the field keeps expanding and expanding, almost like in an infinite loop. Can you make sure that it only happens once per session? There it is. It figured out whatever it is, mutation observer. I have no idea what that means, but I guess that's how it's going to figure it out. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh the screen to kind of start over, start from scratch here. It should default back to the main thing. Now keep in mind that I'm not fixing QuickBooks. I'm just fixing the way QuickBooks looks in my computer. That's why I said my QuickBooks is stupid, and I'm unstupefying it by doing this. But yours will be stupid forever unless you start doing this, or somebody from Intuit watches this and goes, oh yeah, you're right. It was a stupid design flaw. Let's fix it. So hopefully they'll force me to delete this video, because this video will be pretty much useless once they proactively fix this problem. So anyway, let's go ahead and I'm just going to pick an invoice here to make sure that something has a customer job next to it. Okay, so we have, let's pick one that maybe has a long customer job, something that's truncated. Okay, that could be a good example. Let's go ahead and take a look at the new script, and I'm going to go ahead and run it as a test in the console one more time. There we go. Let's just make sure it doesn't go into this infinite loop of craziness, and it's working just fine now. Beautiful. So now that we've tested it, we know this works. I can close the console script. And then what I need to do is I'm going to use, again, this app called User Javascript and CSS to automate this. Every time I log into QuickBooks, it will just do it for me automatically. So I'm going to click on the little icon that's here on the top right. That's for the app. It's called User Javascript and CSS. Again, Chrome extension. You have to use Chrome. Once you install it, you'll be able to click on that and click right here. It says New Rule. So basically, the new rule says, hey, I am going to load this thing automatically when I visit the page qbo.intuit.com/star. Okay, so I'm going to paste the code in there. Okay, so let's paste it in there. And usually what I do, because I'm going to be building a lot of these codes to unstupefy my QuickBooks, so I don't want to run 10, 20, 30 types of code on every page where this is not relevant. So what I usually do is I'll take the URL, I'll take the actual URL, and I will paste it up here. So it only works on that URL. Now I do want to be careful not to include a transaction ID, because it will only work when it's looking at that particular invoice and not any invoice in general. So I'll just delete that part, okay, and leave the part of the URL that doesn't contain any numbers. And I usually just add an asterisk at the end or a star at the end. So it says that as long as it starts with this, you run this script. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to click on save over here. Boom. Okay. And now it's loaded into my system. So now I got this script. Notice I did something similar with my estimates. Actually, I tested it with my estimates prior to make sure that it works. And then I did the invoice live with you so you can see it on the video. So that's active. If I click on this little checkbox here, I make it inactive. So it's really cool. You can have a repository of scripts and you can pick and choose which ones you want to have active. So I'll go back to invoice. I can close my cloth now. I no longer need that anymore. So I can X out of that. Okay. I can go and do my thing, live my life. And then when I come back and pull up an invoice in the future, it should load automatically. So let's just make sure. Let me just grab an invoice here. And there it is. Now I got the long menu and it happened automatically, right? And it doesn't matter how long the customer job information is. It won't be truncated anymore. Even if it's one that's super long, it's going to be there, okay? So I have unstupefied my QuickBooks for this particular function. So what I recommend that you do is you take a look at all these things that frustrate you about QuickBooks. If it's something that's visual, like a button being too small or a field being too big, or not having enough space to look at something, or something that is sortable and not sortable, that you can use it for that. So I hope this kind of opens your mind about the possibilities of you kind of being able to fix some of the minor quirks of any software. Like I pick on QuickBooks a lot because that's a software I use every day of my life for everything. I mean, this is my world is QuickBooks. But if you find yourself in Gmail or in your bank's website or somewhere, and it feels very unproductive, there's probably a really simple solution for that. But you may ask yourselves, Hector, why are you doing this? Why would you waste your time doing that? I mean, you clearly are nitpicking little things here and there, and these are things that QuickBooks is going to fix eventually. You're right. But there's a very specific reason for that. It's because I'm a quasi-software developer myself. So I co-developed this app called RightTool for QuickBooks Online. I'll also put the link in the description below. Simple, you click on Add to Chrome, and there's a free version that just plugs into your QuickBooks. When you go into QuickBooks and you click on refresh, I can exit out of this Chrome thing. And similar to the Chrome thing that opens on the right-hand side, now RightTool opens on the right-hand side. And what I've done with RightTool, what our team has done with RightTool, is we looked at all these things that are broken with QuickBooks, and RightTool proactively can fix them. Now, there's a whole bunch of features when you go into the settings. There's a whole bunch of things that we add and remove and fix, and not everything is aesthetic things. Sometimes it could be certain automation things and stuff like that. You definitely want to check it out. Like there's like 50 or 60 features just available in the free edition. And then once you fall in love with the free edition, I'm pretty sure that you're going to want to upgrade to the pro edition, especially if you're an accounting professional. So this is what I do all day, guys. I look at QuickBooks, I see what's broken. I'll go into Claude or ChatGPT and I'll say, can this be fixed? And if it can, I send it to my programmers and say, fix that. So this thing that you're looking at, that was me experimenting live with expanding those drop-down menus. Is actually, I'm going to send this to my developers so they plug it into the extension. So next time you go into an invoice, hopefully with RightTool installed, these fields will actually be big enough so you can read everything. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next one.